Hello, everyone. Welcome to the debut episode of BellyUp Fantasy Live Hockey Edition. Yeah, what's new? It's grass is green, water's wet. Connor McDavid's leading the league with points.
In that first period, and they've been able to hang on to the lead. Here's Evander Kane trying to get away from Chikrin. He's gone!
Speaking of coaching really quick, I'm curious to see if the situation with Vegas right now, their coaches are all in COVID protocol.
Jason round out the power play quintet. And McDavid flying down the right-hand side. Cuts in, shoots and scores!
One other thing I noticed, especially with the time on ice, you look at Bo Horvat, he's got under 19 minutes, and then Mitch Marner has over 24 minutes.
Patrick Kane walked around Stillman and roofed the backhand.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of BellyUp Fantasy Live. As always, I'm your host, Ryan McCarthy. We are brought to you by BellyUp Fantasy Sports. Check out all our stuff on our sports side at BellyUpFantasy.com. You can also check out our Twitter feed for BellyUp Fantasy at BellyUp Fantasy, and our Twitter page for our hockey material, which is BellyUp at BellyUp Hockey on Twitter. So tonight we're going to talk to our panel, and we got our usual one of our usual panelists, Alex from the Cannons and Tomahawks podcast. Alex, how are we doing tonight?
Doing great. How are you?
Doing pretty good. And for the first time on BellyUp Fantasy Hockey Live, we have from the Corner Booth podcast and Tailgate on the Quad, we've got BellyUp Kev. Kev, how are you doing tonight?
I've been better, but I get to spend time with you guys, so I'm just going to be doing great the rest of the night.
See, I see you got that Terry O'Reilly jersey on. I
do. Yes, this is one of my favorite jerseys. It's the only hockey jersey I have, but it's my favorite out of all my jerseys.
So, if the Boston Bruins win the Stanley Cup, will you consider getting another one?
Maybe. I'm not sure. It depends on how much money I have in my bank account.
Okay.
But If the Bruins win, I will be insufferable for a while. I just haven't seen enough championships in my sports life. So.
Oh, okay. All right. Let's calm down just a scotch on that.
I haven't seen a championship in 3 months. Like, that's so long.
Oh
man, I feel bad for you. Yeah, you're having a rough time over there.
He's the world's tiniest violin playing for you, Kev.
Don't even start on Boston sports in our championship drought. That's just bad.
Oh. Well, we've already got some comments in the comments section. So if you're out there watching on either Facebook or Twitter or YouTube, go ahead and drop a comment. We've already got one comment from Bowden11. Kev, you're cute.
Brad, my guy, making me blush.
Wow. Little hockey talk from Vinny DeSarno. Did you tell your Gump Twitter friends that you're coming on?
We have the Gumps.
Oh boy, the Gumps are here.
The Gumps come out in support.
That's a good thing, though. I like that fact that they're here to support. They're not here to just, throw out random comments like this one. Big hockey girl. Which one of us is it? Is the role with it the big hockey girl, or is it?
She is a big hockey girl.
Okay, all right. I just want to clarify. I wasn't sure if she was calling one of us. This person was calling one of us a big hockey girl. I'm like, obviously.
I have the smallest beard, so I think it'd be me. I got the stubble, but I think.
Yeah, what happened to your stash?
So I shaved it. I had the stash and the mullet combo, and then I cut my hair. So I figured the stash would have looked a little weird. So I just went clean shaven. Now I'm kind of growing the stubble back. I've decided I want a little stubble all the time. I don't want to go full beard ever, but I don't know. Maybe I'll get bored and bring back the mustache.
Well, the playoffs are coming soon, so you can get your hockey beard on then.
Exactly.
All right.
True. I think my dad would kill me.
It's only for a short time. It's only until July.
True. I'll shave after the parade.
There you go. That's what they usually do. All right. So as usual, we're going to get into some division talk. The playoffs, race to the playoffs is happening right as we speak. So I'm going to go over go over to the NHL standings as games are going on. So let's start with the Central Division, the Discover Central Division. I had to put the sponsor in there too. So right now we got in first. It's a very tight race for first place and for the fourth playoff spot. So we got Carolina in first place with 68 points. They've played in 47 games. Florida is in second with 67 points. Tampa Bay's in third with 66 points. Nashville hanging on to that fourth spot with 54 points. Dallas just right behind them, 52 points, but they have 2 games in hand, so they could overtake them pretty easily. Chicago, 49 points. They're sitting in 6th place right now. Detroit, 42 points, which is kind of a interesting rally they got going on. And I'm sorry, Alex, I have to say this, but your Columbus Blue Jackets currently sitting in last place. 50 games played, 40 points. And as of this weekend, they were eliminated from the playoffs. I see that. I see you looking around.
Yeah, I don't.
Go ahead.
I don't know how I feel about it. It doesn't surprise me at this point. They've played terribly, but hey, we're gonna get that first overall pick, so I'm okay.
I hope for your sake you do. I mean,
yeah.
you guys been your Blue Jackets have been through the ringer this year.
Yeah, we're not having a good time. And then the game last night, Jonas Corpusalo got hurt, and I have a feeling it's going to be another season-ending injury. Not that it's another week and a half, but I have a feeling that was his last game played as a Blue Jacket too. So there's a lot going on in Columbus.
I noticed in your article on BellyUpSports.com you had a lot to say about the current coaching situation. Are you going to be glad that you're going to be happy if Torts doesn't get another contract, doesn't get his contract renewed?
I don't want him here anymore. I like Torts. I'm very happy for what he's done for Columbus, but it's like all good things, they need to come to an end. For example, I'm a Patriots fan. We had Tom Brady for however long. Eventually, it comes time that he has to go. So it's like with all good things, they have to come to an end eventually. Does it suck? Yeah. We're probably not going to be great for a year or two, but it all depends on what they do. There's a delicate line that Jarmo Kekalainen needs to walk to be able to kind of figure out the right way to go about things.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on from the bottom. Let's go to the top. The top 3 spots right now are separated by 2 points. We put up a poll on BellyUp Hockey, the Twitter account. We had a poll where we voted. You had the chance to vote for which playoff race is the most interesting to watch right now. And let me just go to that result in just a second here.
Yes, Vinny. Torts is a really good coach for rebuilds, but not longevity. That's why I think, my personal opinion, I think Torts is going to be the next coach in Buffalo because they need that type of a rebuild, and he's very good at it. If you look at how long he's with each team, he's always there for about 4 years, and they always do well. And that 5th year is when they start doing poorly again. So that's about the max of how long he'll stay at teams. So, yeah, he's not very good in the long run, but he's definitely great for rebuilds.
Yeah, just ask Tampa. Just ask the Rangers. They'll tell you. So, as I mentioned in our Twitter account on BellyUp Hockey, we gave you the choice of voting for which divisional playoff races would be the most exciting to watch over the next 2 weeks. And 43% of you said the Mass Mutual East. Discover Central was 25%. Honda West was 18%, and the Scotia North was 14%. So we'll get to the East in just a moment. But I personally feel that the most exciting divisional races right now is happening in the Central, because you have 3 teams vying for first place. They're all separated by 2 points, and then you have the 4th seed all separated by 3 points. So it's going to come down to next week being the last week. And plus, you got teams making up games. Like Dallas had their COVID issues very, very early. They're still making up games. They've got 2 games in hand over Nashville and 1 game in hand over Chicago. Carolina is the same thing. They've got 2 games in hand. They're in first place currently, and they got 2 games in hand over Florida and 1 over Tampa. So it's going to be the next 2 weeks are going to be very, very vital for all these teams, just to see where they wind up in the playoff standing. So in 2 weeks we'll have our next show. So out of this division, Alex, where do you see which teams landing?
Right now, I think Carolina is going to hold fast in that first spot. I really do see them doing that. I think the top 3 are solidified, in my opinion, in the order that they're going to end up at the end of the season. Mm-hmm. I still think Dallas is going to come back and overtake Nashville for that 4 spot, knocking Nashville back out of the playoffs. But Carolina's, they're hard to beat. They are very hard to beat, especially, if you look at their home record, they're 16-3-4. That's ridiculous. It's insane. And
that's a crazy record.
Florida's and Tampa have both been really good. Tampa is now my central team that I want to win, since the Blue Jackets are not there anymore, which is weird to say, but
yeah,
I'm hoping Tampa will crank it out and get back into first place. But I think Carolina's going to, especially since they have 2 games in hand on Florida and 1 on Tampa Bay, I think they're going to stay in that first seed.
Okay. Now, the team I think will take the 4th seed. I had Nashville pegged as the 4th seed, but their schedule. I'm going to look at their schedule real briefly. They're playing Florida right now. They got back to back against Florida at home. Then they got Dallas. They're at Columbus for 2 games, and they got Carolina for the last 2 games of the season. So, in that stretch, I could see them winning at least. If they win 4 games, I won't be surprised. If they win 5 or maybe 6, I'll be very surprised. Considering they could probably take Columbus. Sorry, Alex. They could take at least 1 against Florida. I think they'll take the 1 at home against Dallas, and I think they'll take at least 1 against Carolina. So I think out of those 1, 2, 4, 7 games, they'll win at least 4, and maybe get an overtime point in one of those 3 games. That might be a loss.
Yeah.
Got anything to add there, Kev?
Yeah, watch for Dallas to move up into possibly the 2 spot. That's my hot take.
Okay.
Florida's they're not bad, but they're starting to slide a bit. Dallas has been hot lately. I can see them. They have 3 games left with the Lightning. I can see them taking 2. I'm not sure it's definitely going to happen, but I can see it I think by the end of the season, you have to ride the hot hand. You pick the hottest teams to make a push, and I can see Dallas doing that as someone who admittedly doesn't know a lot about hockey.
Fair.
Yeah, Dallas is usually a good team that will crank it up at the end of the season. I mean, that's what happened last year, and that's why they made it to the finals. They ended up out of nowhere just cranking it up at the end, and then you get to the qualifying round, and they're still hot. And
yeah,
admittedly, I think their goaltending carried them quite a bit because Tyler Seguin did virtually nothing. Jamie Benn did virtually nothing. Their defensive guys did hardly anything. So it was a lot of Hudobin since Ben Bishop was hurt. So
yep,
it's one of those things that they could. I don't know if they'll make it to 2 because Florida and Carolina are so hot right now, and they have a pretty easy schedule the rest of the way. It looks like.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I said, I still think Dallas is going to take that 4 spot.
Well, right now Dallas is actually up 3-2 at the end of 2 against Carolina. So what the result of that game is going to weigh huge for Dallas's race. So that's going to be a very interesting race towards the end. So let's go over to the Mass Mutual East. So right now, as it stands, Pittsburgh is in first place with 67 points in 49 games. Washington's in second, 1 point just behind them, and with 1 game in hand at 66 points. They get the Islanders in third, 63 points. Boston, 60 points with 47 games. The New York Rangers right behind them in fifth place at 56 points, 49 games played. Philadelphia, again, I'm not mad at you Flyers. I'm just disappointed. 51 points, 48 games. My New Jersey Devils, 35 points, 48 games, and right behind them, the Buffalo Sabres, 33 points, 49 games. We've got some comments in the comments section here. We've been told if we don't slander the Sabres, Bowden will leave. I'll go ahead and slander them for you. Yes, Buffalo is terrible. They have some upside if they can manage to get some draft picks for Jack Eichel in the offseason. But yes.
Yep. Buffalo's
terrible.
they're going to get a couple of those first round picks from Columbus, so it's fine. I would slander Buffalo, but their record does that all on their own, so I don't need to do anything.
I'm confused why we're talking about Buffalo. We're just picking who the fourth playoff spot's going to be, and Buffalo's been knocked out of that for about 4 months now.
I know, but I'm just giving the people what they want. We're slaying.
All right, cool, Brad. Just kick a team while they're down.
Well, we did that with the Buffalo Bills for so many years. Now we got to pick on the Sabres.
Fair.
We've also been told if there's any capital slander, Vinny says if there's any capital slandering, he's leaving. I don't see any. I'm not big into. I'm not going to slander Washington. Washington's definitely in the hunt for that first overall spot in the East. It's very, very important because that means home ice advantage for at least the first two rounds of the playoffs in the East. So no slandering from the Capitals on my end. So Vinny, go ahead and stick around. Appreciate you. So we got a pretty close race in the East as well. Pittsburgh's they're very, very surprising. I thought they would be out of the playoff race this year. They've been very surprising because Sidney Crosby, Washington, always going to be chasing. New York Islanders, I thought they're going to be in contention. And Boston has been, I wouldn't say a surprise in the East, but they've kept the division race tight, and that's a good thing for the division. So Kev, where do you see your Boston Bruins landing? Which spot at the end of the season?
They got to pick it up because right now they're looking down the barrel of the 5 spot. They got 2 in hand on New York, yeah, but New York's hotter than them. They've won 2 in a row. Bruins have lost 2. Last 10 is comparable, but I am very concerned about the Bruins. I love playoff hockey, and I'm afraid that I'm not going to be able to watch it.
Okay, now it'll be interesting to see the last 2 games of the season because they're playing the New York Rangers the last 2 games of the season.
Better win those 2 games.
But it's I believe it's at Boston though.
Yes.
But yeah, so it's at Boston, so they got home ice for those 2 games, and if the Rangers can come back to catch up to them, those 2 games at the end of the season are going to be very, very important.
Yeah, the Rangers have been kicking it up a lot lately. You know, I'm at the point now I think the Rangers are going to finish in that 4 spot because Mika Zibanejad's been heating up like crazy. He's getting to that point where he is going insane. Artemi Panarin's getting hot too. Same with Ryan Strome, and then with Chris Kreider, they're all doing really well. The goaltending's starting to get back up to where it's supposed to be, or at least where you expect it to be with Georgiev and Shesterkin. So it's, I think the Rangers are going to end up pulling it off, but you know, they have a pretty rough schedule ahead though. That's the thing. You know, they play Buffalo tomorrow, and then they have 2 games against the Islanders, and then 2 games against Washington, and then the final 2 against Boston.
The thing about Buffalo, I will say this to compliment them, because I can't just slander them for the entire show, is that they're playing scrappier than they did before the trade deadline. I think ever since they traded Taylor Hall, they've been showing a little bit more spunk, showing a bit more scrappiness, and with Jack Eichel not playing too, it's all up to Cody Reinhardt picking up the scoring pace. And they've surprised some. They've had some surprising results. They beat Boston last week. They put a 6 spot on Boston last week. So that was an interesting game. Again, the one team we're always forgetting that we're always sleeping on. We've been sleeping on them for most of the season. Are the New York Islanders? Don't sleep on them.
I think a lot of people have slept on them.
Yeah, they're going to be very sneaky coming out of that either 2 or 3 seed, and if they could get some points, then they could make up some points against. They could wind up the number 1 seed. We look at their schedule. They got the Capitals tomorrow night, and they could flip position. They could flip spots there. They've also got they're playing home and home against the Rangers, at Buffalo, at home against Jersey, and actually the last game of the season, the Islanders are playing Boston. So the Islanders are at Boston. So I think they can get at least, if they can get 6 wins or maybe 5 wins out of these 8 games, I think could get the number 2 spot. And that's going to be very, very important for playoff positioning come first round.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you look at especially the rest of the schedule, so if you look at the Islanders, they have the best home record out in the entire league. They're 19-3-3.
Yeah.
Okay, second best. Pittsburgh has the best. So second best out of the whole league, 19-3-3. Well, they have 3 home games, 2, no offense, against the Devils. Those are easy wins. Rangers.
I'm fine with that.
And then they have 2 in Buffalo, but that's also Buffalo. So
Yeah.
it's in my mind, there's 5 all but officially guaranteed wins right there. And then the rest you have to deal with the Rangers again, Boston, and Washington.
Yep.
So I easily think they could sneak up and pull that 2 seed. They
could. They gotta win some games. They gotta have some things happen to the Caps or even Pittsburgh, because Pittsburgh only has a 1-point advantage right now over the Caps, and the Caps have a 1 game. Both the Caps and the Islanders have a game in hand over Pittsburgh. So either one of those 2 teams, they could take the number 1 spot. And again, as we know, home ice is very, very important. And if you got a team like the Islanders or a team like the Penguins who have very good home records, that's going to take you far. It's going to take you very far.
Yep.
All right, moving on to the Scotia North Division. Here we go. First place, Toronto, the Maple Leafs with 65 points, 48 games. Winnipeg in second, 57 points. And right behind them is Edmonton in third place with 56 points. Montreal, 51 points in fourth place. Then you got Calgary, as my cat. Sorry, Tagalong's making an appearance here. Calgary, 45 points, 6 points behind Montreal. You got Vancouver, who is coming back from their COVID situation with 41 points in 41 games. And then last place are the Ottawa Senators with 38 points. All right, so number 1 seed seems to be locked up. Oh my gosh, buddy, you're killing me. Number 1 seed seems to be locked up with Toronto, win the North Division. But the next 2 spots, Winnipeg and Edmonton. And Edmonton has 2 games in hand, but only 1 point behind Winnipeg. And we had the big news today that Nick Ehlers is out for the rest of the regular season with an upper body injury. So, Alex, how do you think that affects the Winnipeg Jets going forward for the rest of the year? Was this more of a precautionary move on Paul Maurice's part, or is he really hurt?
It could possibly be a little bit of both. In my mind, it could have been maybe he's more of a day-to-day situation, but they're going to say he's out the rest of the season because it's only, they've got 47 games played right now. So they got
9 games left.
9 games. Yeah. So 2.5 weeks at most. I could sit there and see it being, he's hurt, but it's more of a precautionary thing. So he is ready to go for the playoffs. I think the biggest thing with that is you need to make sure that they have the depth with that, especially with him going out for a while.
Mm-hmm.
They want to be able to make sure, he's a left wing. So luckily they're okay, but now you have to shuffle all the lines around, and the lines have been working really well lately. That's why they're in the second spot right now. I think they're, even though they haven't been officially given it, I'm pretty sure they're going to make the playoffs. Same thing with Toronto and Edmonton. The real battle, I think, is Calgary going to kick it up and take that 4 seed? But with Winnipeg, I think it affects them, but not as much as a lot of people want to think, because they still have a lot of that depth on the wing that is going to help them get to where they need to be and stay where they need to be.
Okay. Now they are both playing. Both Winnipeg and Edmonton are currently playing right now. It's a scoreless game with 5:52 left in the first period. Toronto obviously looks like they're going to take the division, but Montreal, I still have a lot of question marks. Do we know that if Cale Caulfield has been called up to Montreal? I believe he was.
He actually made his debut today.
Yeah.
No points, but he did get 4 shots on goal, about 15 minutes of ice time. Today was his debut, and the Montreal Canadiens are now officially undefeated with Cole Caulfield in the lineup.
Yay.
1-0.
All right. Or the Hobie Baker Award winner.
Yeah.
Cale Caulfield. So just to give you a heads up. And Kev, I don't know if you know about college hockey a little bit, but the Hobie Baker Award is given to basically the Heisman of college hockey.
I gather that, but thank you for putting into college football terms. I do appreciate it. Makes things easier. Just tell it to me like it's college football. I'll get it.
I do have a question though about Alabama. You went to the University of Alabama, as you are famously known for in our parts.
Well, let's be clear here. Not a lot of Alabama fans went to Alabama. I did, but just because I'm a fan of Alabama doesn't automatically mean that I went there.
Now, so I knew there was a reason I didn't like you.
There's a lot of reasons people don't like
you.
Me.
You can see right there. That's why I don't like you. Tennessee fan.
Oh boy.
And
that's where, baby.
I'm just going to mute myself here and let you guys duke it out for a bit. No, I'm just kidding.
No, it's not safe for.
I know that. I know for a fact that Alabama has some, I wouldn't say quality minor league hockey, but they're well known for having several well-known minor league teams in the Southern Professional Hockey League. Did you ever get a chance to go to a game when you were down there? Did you ever go to Huntsville or Birmingham or any of those cities that have minor league hockey?
I didn't actually. That's one thing I missed about going to school in Alabama is I didn't really stray too far out of Western Alabama unless I was going to the airport.
Okay.
So I do wish I went to see a Bulls game, or what's the Huntsville one?
Havoc. Yep.
Yeah. So I wish I went to see them, but I didn't go. I didn't go as much as I should.
I kind of want to do a southern tour of the SPHL like someday. Like for BellyUp Sports, if we get the funding for it, we definitely got to do a swing by the Western Hockey, the Southwest, the Southern Professional Hockey League, Birmingham Bulls, Huntsville Havoc, Knoxville Ice Bears. We can go to Knoxville, Alex. Let's go to Knoxville.
Hey,
see the Ice Bears.
It's in the greatest state in the entire country. I'll happily go.
The Macon Mayhem, Pensacola Flyers. A couple of teams actually didn't play this year because of COVID-19, but we'll be back next year. But yeah, that's definitely something that once BellyUp gets some hockey, get some funding, we'll definitely do a tour. The Iron Bowl of hockey is always electric because the student section is right behind the Auburn goalie. Yeah, I guess club hockey is big down there.
Hey, fun fact: a guy I went to high school with played club hockey at Alabama, and I'm from Massachusetts. And the weirdest experience was seeing someone you went to high school with who you didn't know went to your school at a bar.
Oh, I bet that was nice and fun.
I was very confused.
Like, what are you doing down here?
Oh, go to school.
It was confusing.
So we're going to finish up the rest of some talk on the North Division. Toronto's taking Montreal and Calgary is going to. I think it's going to come down to the last couple of games for sure. Mm-hmm. There, Montreal actually beat Calgary this afternoon with a 2-1 victory in Calgary. They've been playing the last couple of games in Calgary. Montreal has a big game against Toronto on Wednesday night. And the rest of the schedule has them seeing Winnipeg, Ottawa, Toronto again. They've got Toronto in 4 games. 4 out of the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 out of the last 10 games, they play Toronto. They played 2 games against against Edmonton at home. They have 2 against Ottawa. And from what I'm seeing in the news, Carey Price is in concussion protocol. He's out for this week, so he should be coming back this week at concussion protocol. So that could make a difference between a playoff run and a possible run to the playoffs and them playing golf in Quebec.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
it's crazy. Montreal has been so wishy-washy this season.
Started off hot and then all of a sudden, just roller coaster.
Yeah. Yeah, and, I feel bad for guys like Tyler Toffoli and Josh Anderson who've been doing really well. Tyler Toffoli's been killing everybody, especially the Canucks. But, their last 10, they're 3-7. That's going to be a race to watch between Montreal and Calgary for sure.
Yeah. So here's the last 9 games for Calgary. They've got Vancouver at home on Wednesday. They're at Vancouver on Wednesday. Then they play at Edmonton twice for the Battle of Alberta. Then they're at home against Winnipeg and Ottawa. Then they play 4 straight against Vancouver to make up Vancouver's COVID protocol. So since they got out of COVID protocol, but Vancouver, they've won 3. They've won 3 straight since coming out of. They've won the last. Actually, I'm sorry. They won the last 3 games in a row. I'm sorry, they lost 1. So, but they were on a pretty good streak when they came out of COVID protocol.
Mm-hmm.
I believe they won 3 in a row. They just lost 1. So they got some ground to make up. So I don't see them catching up, but it'll be interesting to see if they do. They do catch up Montreal or Calgary.
Yeah, no,
and
for
there's
sure.
Ottawa in last place.
Yeah, it's Vancouver could. I mean, I think they're going to be more in the situation where they're just going to try and ruin other people's situations rather than them make the playoffs. I think they're going to ruin it for Calgary or Montreal. But a lot of that's going to depend on how Vancouver plays. Because if Vancouver's not playing good, that 4 straight games against Vancouver for Calgary could be a huge game changer. I mean, that could easily be 8 points. Mm-hmm. And right now, that would jump them up into almost 3rd place, not 5th.
Right.
So that could be a pretty big series between them, depending on how they play.
Yeah. It's gonna depend on how Thatcher Demko can take over that. Between Thatcher Demko and Braden Holtby in between the pipes. I know Braden Holtby's had some pretty good games over the last couple of games. So we'll see how he performs and make a big difference between a playoff spot and missing out. All right. So finally, moving on to the Honda West Division, we have Vegas Golden Knights currently sitting at 70 points in 47 games. They are looking more and more like a team that's on their way to winning the President's Trophy. They've won their last 9 in a row. Second place, Colorado Avalanche, 66 points, and right behind them in 3rd place with 65 points, the Minnesota Wild, who have officially captured a playoff spot. They've won 7 in a row. Next is St. Louis, 48 points, sitting in 4th place. They're currently playing Colorado right now, and they're winning, so they could be on their way to their 3rd straight win. Arizona right behind them, 47 points. San Jose, 41. Los Angeles, 40. And rounding it out, Anaheim, 35 points. So the big question here in the West is Vegas looks like they're going to run away with the division. But then you got the most important 2 spot for Colorado, Minnesota. Colorado's lost 2 in a row. They look like they're on the way to losing 3 in a row. Minnesota's on a hot streak also, 7 in a row. St. Louis has won 2. They're looking on the way to 3. And Arizona's nipping at their heels, no pun intended because it's Coyotes, with 47 points. So when next Saturday is all said and done, Alex, who's in the 2 spot and who's in the 4 spot in the West?
I think Minnesota's going to be in the 2 spot. They have been on fire lately. Kirill Kaprizov the kid is a maniac. He just continues to score nonstop. Matt Zuccarello, Cam Talbot, Capo Kakkonen have all been outstanding. Colorado's been going through a little bit of a struggle lately. Obviously, granted, you look at it, you don't think so. Last 10, they're 8-2, but they're not playing like themselves. And I think there's obviously they're going to make the playoffs. They've already clinched a spot, but I think they're going to be down in 3. In the 4 spot, that one's up in the air. My opinion, it's going to be Arizona.
Okay.
I think St. Louis is going to fall off a little bit, and it's not going to be something drastic, but it's going to be just enough that they're not going to be able to make it. I could see it being something to where Arizona finishes the season 1 or 2 points ahead of St. Louis for that final spot. But the problem is St. Louis has 3 games in hand on Arizona. So,
but here's the rub. So Minnesota's final 9 games, 3 at home, 3 straight at home against St. Louis, 2 in a row against Vegas at home, 2 straight against Anaheim at home. So their next 7 games are at home, and they bookend that at St. Louis for the last 2 games of the season.
Yeah.
So St. Louis is going to be desperate for those games, for those 5 games.
Yeah, they're going to be very desperate. And even with all that, Minnesota could still theoretically come out in first place.
They could.
They
absolutely could.
I don't think it will, because Vegas has been – I don't know where this team came from, but they've been very good lately. I mean, I think they have the highest goal differential in the entire – by quite a bit too. And they've got 57 plus 57, Colorado's plus 53. And then you have the next closest is Carolina with plus 39. I mean, Vegas is scoring a lot of goals.
Yeah. And they're not letting in a lot of goals either.
No.
So that's the big thing. Now, here's Arizona's schedule for their last 8 games. So they're at San Jose for the next 2 games, including tonight. Then they're at home against Vegas, they're at home against the Kings, and they're at San Jose for the last 2 games of the season. I mean, San Jose is on a bit of a losing streak themselves. They lost 8 in a row.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that 4 spot could really go any direction, honestly. It really is going to depend on, are those veteran guys for those teams going to step up? Is Vladimir Tarasenko going to step up for St. Louis? Is Phil Kessel going to step up for Arizona? That's where the question's going to lie. I think their goaltending is comparable to each other. It's just going to depend on which team wants it more. Who wants to make the playoffs more, and whoever that is going to show themselves, and they're going to be in the 4 spot.
Okay. All right. Kev, over to you. So who do you see as what's your seedings for the West Division come May 16th or 15th?
I can honestly see it just staying the way it is, really. I mean, yeah, the Wild are hot. Colorado hasn't looked quite the same, but they're still winning games. It's not like they're 8-2 and then they just lost the last 2 by a lot. They're staying competitive. They're staying games, and they have 2 in hand over the Wild. And I do think it's going to be Arizona. Phil Kessel has, 4 goals against the Sharks this year?
Something like that, yeah.
I think. 7 goals in 4 games. My bad. And half their games left are against the Sharks. I think Phil Kessel can keep it up. He's going to lock up the Coyotes playoff spot. And also, I fucking hate the Blues. Can we swear on this?
Yeah, whatever.
I'll try not to do it for now, but I hate the Blues, so it's a win-win for me. I'm right, and the Blues are out of the playoffs.
Does it have to do with certain events that happened in 2019?
Yeah, because they were running at Tuukka all series, and whenever they got called during the first couple of games, we were the least penalized team all year. We shouldn't be getting these calls against us. That means nothing. If I don't get a penalty minute all year, and then I take my stick like a baseball bat and smash someone in the face with it, I should get suspended for it. It does not matter what you've done in the past. It matters what you're doing now. And the Blues should have been.
Just so we know, I have that saved on my phone at all times. so I can make a Blues fan mad or a Bruins fan
Or
mad.
Bruins fan mad.
It's quick access. It's nice and easy access. I mean, you're probably gonna
5,301.
okay.
That's how many days it's been since Tennessee beat Alabama.
That's fine.
All right.
If we're talking about football, Tennessee couldn't beat a Pee-wee team right now. I'm at least able to admit that. Their football team's terrible. Basketball, we're gonna have a different conversation. Baseball.
Who won the SEC this year?
And with,
basketball
that,
team won the-
and with that, a word from our sponsor, Symbol. Kev, tell us a little bit about Symbol.
I love Symbol. Wall Street needs sports gambling in this innovative app, my apologies. Symbol brings the fun of being able to play for the long term by purchasing, selling, and trading stocks of your teams. When your teams win, you win a payout. When they lose, you don't. The value of your team's share is all that matters, and it's easy to use. Just download the Symbol app on your Play Store and use the promo code BellyUpFantasy, one word, all caps, for a $10 deposit bonus of at least $10 or more. Join the fun of investing in your team for the ad read cut off. Long term, I'm guessing it looked like an L.
Please hold. Yep.
God, they're
long
gonna
ball.
love this ad read. They're gonna be talking to Mike tomorrow, like, hey, Kevin, not allowed to do ad reads anymore. Long haul, where the sportsbook edge is put back into your hands as the player. For the
That was my
latest
fault, by the way. Sorry.
and most fun in sports gambling, download Symbol. And again, use the promo code BellyUpFantasy for your $10 deposit bonus today.
All right, bravo. So, back to fantasy hockey. So, Kev, how much fantasy hockey do you know?
I know you get points added for goals, assists, probably some other statistics. I don't know why you would need other statistics. And then for goalies, goals against, if their save percentage is below a certain point, you get less points. If they get a win, they probably get more points. And some leagues, I know you have to set your lineup every day. Other ones, you can just set it for the week, and then depending on who plays more games, that's who you'd want to put in.
Okay. All right. So Alex is our fantasy hockey guru around here. So Alex, take Kev through the journey of your typical week. Well, first take him through your draft, then take him through your typical week as a fantasy hockey franchise. Do you sit players? Do you start players? How do you adjust your lineups? What do you look for in the waiver wire? Take it away.
Yeah, so starting at the draft, you'll sit there and rock with the draft, and then essentially what you're going to look for is initially you want the guys that are going to get the most points. So if you're in the top 3 picks, you want a Connor McDavid, Nikita Kucherov, a Leon Draisaitl, or anything like that. Once you start getting probably into the 3rd or 4th round, then that's when you're going to start looking for, okay, well, I need to fill positions. So you can't have 37 centers and 2 left wingers on your team. So you want to have a certain amount of centers, left wing, right wing, defense, and goalies, depending on which fantasy format you use. If you go through ESPN or Yahoo, they're all different, and the league setup can change.
Now, I have a question. Can you do like a rotisserie league, like old school fantasy baseball, or do you mostly do head to head?
You can do just about whatever you want. I typically will do head to head, where it's you play for 1 week, not just a day. You play for a week, and then you'll change your lineup. You can either have it so it's set for a week. The ones I play in, you set it every day. So you can go ahead and actually change your lineup for every day of the week, because there will be days that, for example, Ryan, you know this, that there are days that there's 13 hockey games on, and then there's other days where there's 2.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, you want to make sure that those days with 13 games, you want to have as many guys in as possible, because those are the days you're going to pad your points. That's when you're going to sit there and rake in as many points as possible. And then on the days where you have guys that there's 2 games played, so you might have 3 guys total that are playing. Well, the guy you're playing or girl you're playing could have 7 people, so they're going to be able to make up a little bit of ground. So that's why essentially you just want to throw everybody in. And then obviously you get to the IR, you get guys that are hurt or in concussion protocol, you want to take them out. So I pay a lot of attention to all the news on some of these guys that are hurt or anything like that. Like I had Nikolai Ehlers on my team, and I just dropped him because the season is done in 2 weeks for fantasy and the actual league. But so it really depends kind of on the guys that you pick up, because you really don't want to have a lot of people that play on the same day. Not that you can really control that. And one thing I do is try not to get a bunch of guys in the same division, because then you're going to be playing that. If you have, for example, if you had 7 guys from Boston on your team and then another 5 guys from the Rangers, especially like this year, well, Boston is going to play New York 8 times. Well, if Boston dominates them, you have 7 guys that are getting points. Then you have 5 guys who aren't doing anything. So you want to try and even it up as much as possible between all of the leagues. I know a lot of guys that'll just pick players based on who is on their team or who they like. That really never works out, because this is my 9th year straight of being in the championship for fantasy hockey. So it's one of those things like, I feel like I know what I'm doing. So I try not to pick the same people all the time. As for the points, you were pretty accurate. So, from a forward and defenseman standpoint, you get points for any goals or assists. You actually get points for shots on net. Your plus minus kind of contributes depending on the league, not as much, but it's really the shots on goal that you actually get a large majority of the points from, and then you'll get some from goals and assists. With defensemen, it's the same thing. Depending on the league, you can get points for blocked shots as well, but that is really hard to determine kind of on the fly. With goalies, it's, any goals that are scored against you. Sometimes it's like a -1. You get a certain amount of points for every shot that you stop. And then like in the ESPN leagues, you'll do that. And if you get a shutout, you get an extra, I think 10 points or 8 points or something. It's ridiculous. So there are a lot of extra things that a lot of these players will get points for that not a lot of people really understand. And that's where you can pad your points to get 350 or something in a 1 week period. It's crazy.
Now, some leagues I used to be in, they would actually have points for penalty minutes. Do they still have that? Can you add that in if you want?
You can. That's all depending on how you want to set the league up. So, like, I'm usually the league manager on the ones that I make, and I don't make it too crazy because I like trying to help people get into it and kind of learn and understand how to play it. So I don't make these crazy, idiotic rules. Now, in some of the dynasty leagues that I'm in, there are some pretty crazy rules. So you have guys that'll lose points if they commit a penalty. So, if you trip somebody, you're going to lose a point or anything like that. And the same thing with if they draw a penalty. So you have a player, if they draw a penalty, they actually get points for that. So there's a lot of stuff that you can add points for just about anything.
All right, Kev, you got any questions for Alex there?
I don't actually. Alex did a very good job of explaining fantasy hockey. I wouldn't be good at it. I'm not good at fantasy sports, but probably forget to set my lineup half the time, but it's fine.
That happens quite a bit. I actually do that, and I'll do fantasy baseball every once in a while. And then after like 2 months, I always forget, especially when there's so many games every day. Sometimes it's really hard to remember. Like last week I was on vacation. I sit there and I set my lineup on Sunday for the entire week. And then I didn't even look at my phone until this morning. And luckily I destroyed everything.
Schedule your lineup?
Yeah. Yeah. So for example, like on ESPN, I'll actually show you real quick. You can go through and change your lineup per day. So like you can sit there and look at your matchup like this, and it'll show like this is for Monday, and then you can change it and it'll show for each day of the week. Well, what you can do is you can go through and look at your roster. You can set your lineup for Monday, and then you can save your changes, and then go to Tuesday, set your lineup, save your changes, and so on and so forth. And then you can sit there and look at all of the free agent players. Anybody that's on waivers, if you want to pick it up, depending on your waiver order, I'm constantly at the back because like I'm 11-2. So I've been in the 10th spot the entire season. So it really depends on how you want to play it. You can go through and mess with your lineup almost every day, which I do a lot. And then that'll depend on, oh, hey, I have this guy who's been terrible for the last 2 weeks. I'm going to drop him and pick up this defenseman who's been hot and he has a strong schedule. Like he's very good against certain teams coming up. So I'm going to pick him up because I know he's going to get a bunch of goals. So it really depends on how you want to play it. If you want to be really hands-on or just kind of a lackadaisical, yeah, I'm going to set it 1 day a week and call it a day.
That was my only question.
All right. And are there other resources that you use, Alex, besides just checking the waiver wires? Do you look at NHL.com? Do you look at ESPN? Do you look at any other kind of fantasy site? BellyUp Fantasy Sports.
Oh, man, I could go on for like 2 hours about that. I'd say the biggest thing that I check is I'll go through ESPN and NHL. Honestly, the biggest thing I use is Twitter, especially with the news about injuries. So, for example, Nikolai Ehlers, I always find out on Twitter before anything else. So I see that. First thing I do is I see that. Okay, then I go over to ESPN or whatever league I'm in, and I'll sit there and check and see, okay, well, he's hurt, and I know he's in my lineup, so I need to take him out and find a replacement. Or, I see, hey, well, this guy's coming up. He's going to have a really hard time because they have a super strong schedule. So I'm going to look at trading him. So, like, for example, Drake Batherson from the Ottawa Senators, he's doing really well, but they have a really rough schedule coming up. So I sit there and traded him with somebody else, and I got a player from, I don't remember who it was. I got a guy from Winnipeg. Well, they got a pretty easy schedule coming up, and he's got like a 1.9 points per game average right now. So that's better than the 1.7 I was getting with Batherson. So a lot of it is me in my free time during when I'm supposed to be working and have meetings and stuff. I'll sit there and look at all the news and try and kind of get an idea what's going on.
All right. Well, thanks for explaining that to Kev, Alex. Would you be interested in joining a league next year, Kev, or are you going to hold off on that?
I'm probably going to hold off.
Fair enough.
You can be my assistant coach.
All right, cool. I'll do all the analytics stuff.
There you go. I was going to try to do a BellyUp fantasy hockey league, but things just didn't come to fruition. But maybe next year we'll do like a startup league for people who want to do fantasy, and we'll just do like a standings every week. We'll show where people are. I have a feeling Alex is going to dominate, but
Alex isn't allowed. Let someone else win.
I'll be a counsel. That's fine.
You'll be counsel.
Yeah. So my co-host Zach and I are actually going to start up a dynasty league. We have a bunch of friends who like fantasy hockey, so we're starting a dynasty league, and it's just going to be, we have a really serious draft, I think, with 8 teams, and then you're just going to keep those players year by year, and you can trade them when they retire, try and get draft picks. It's going to get a little ridiculous.
I have a feeling you don't want to be in that, Kev.
No. The only reason I would be in that is if someone said, hey, I'll give you $5 if you give me all your good players, and then I'd just do that.
Like it can get ridiculous. I'm in a dynasty league I've been in for 14 years, and every single season it used to be like $100 would go to the winner. Now it's a $5,000 to $5,000 goes to the champ. Wow. We'll sit there and we have a pool that we put in money all at the beginning of the season, and the champion gets $5,000, which is pretty cool. I've won that a couple times.
Wow.
So it's pretty nice. It's fun. I mean, it's all a group of friends I've known forever, especially when I used to play hockey. We've known each other for years.
Sure beats a stimulus check from the government. That's another podcast. All right. So speaking of stimulus, now a word from our sponsor, Manscaped. With the first with the first pick of the 2021 men's grooming draft, the Balsaxonville Jaguars select Manscaped, the leaders in below-the-waist grooming. Looks like Mel Kiper gave this an A+ grade because this pick is a major upgrade for that Bush defense. For all my BellyUp, for all my NFL draft fans and NHL hockey fans, Alex is gone. We have an exclusive 20% off promo code BellyUpFantasy at Manscaped.com. The reason why Manscaped is guaranteed number one pick is because of the Performance Package. The package is the ultimate men's hygiene bundle. Inside the Performance Package, you'll find products in liquid formations that have been developed to turn your bathroom into a salon for your ball support. The show for your balls. Wow, that's a bit of a run-on. Support the show and get 20% off free shipping with the code BellyUpFantasy at Manscaped.com.
Buy one.
There you go. There it is. All right. So that's going to do it for this week's edition of BellyUp Fantasy Live Hockey Edition. I want to thank, as always, Alex being part of the panel. Kev, you are more than welcome to come back anytime you want to talk some fantasy hockey or just some hockey overall. You know, Stanley Cup playoffs are coming soon, and anytime you want to come back and talk some playoff hockey, because I think by the time our next broadcast goes up, which will be we'll be in the final week of the regular season, so leading up to the playoffs, because the playoffs start the week of the 18th, I believe, of May. Yep. Week of the 16th. I'm sorry. Yep. So, but yeah, anytime you want to come back and crack wise or learn some more about hockey, you're more than welcome.
Thank you. I'd recommend getting someone who knows hockey a little better for the end of season pre-playoff preview, but more than happy to help out. Bring the Gumps with me. It'll be a good time.
There you go. Yeah, we'd love to have the Gumps. And all of yous Gumps who joined us tonight, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Roll Tide, I guess. I don't know. I'm still waiting for that jersey. I told Kevin on one of my podcasts a couple months back that if somebody sent me an Alabama hockey jersey, XXX or XXX, I would join Gump Twitter. That hasn't happened yet, but we'll see.
I'll talk to my people.
Talk to your people.
Jeez.
Well, I got a Penn State. I got a Penn State jersey, so that's my team. But
fair. I don't even have a Gump hockey jersey. I just have a football and 2 baseball.
You know, I have seen Tennessee's club hockey jerseys. They're pretty sharp with the checkerboard.
Yeah, no, they're pretty cool. I've got one upstairs, but that's not my hockey team for college.
Who's your hockey team for college?
So I live in Columbus, Ohio. Who do you think it would be?
Oh,
not Ohio State.
Oh, okay.
Not Ohio State. It's Michigan.
Oh, curveball.
Oh, switcheroo.
Yeah,
you'll switcheroo.
I can't stand the Buckeyes. The only thing I will do for the Buckeyes is I'll root for baseball a little bit because I know the coach. Other than that, I could not care less. They can lose every game in every sport and checkers and water polo. I don't care. I hate all.
Amen to that.
Who did you root for in the national championship, though, for football?
Dude, I'll be honest. I don't even remember who was in it.
It was Alabama and Ohio State.
Oh, shit. Nobody.
Did you just root for the field to collapse?
Teams lose.
That was a game where it's the typical, is there a way both teams can lose? Because I hate both of them. I mean, if I had to choose one, I would pick Alabama. And the only reason I say that is because it's a former SEC team. That's it. It's the only reason.
I will say for sure, I was listening to the radio broadcast of the semifinal when Joe Tessitore was giving probably the most captivating play-by-play ever to see if Notre Dame would cover against Alabama.
I bet the boys over at Craft Brewed Sports that they wouldn't, and then they had the backdoor cover.
Ah, that's right. It's a beer bomb of seltzer. I forgot about that on Corner Booth. I forgot about that. But we're pretty much now that we're cross promoting all of our podcasts here on Belly Up Sports. Kev, where can people find your podcasts? Actually, because you have 2 going on.
You can find the Corner Booth podcast with Jared at the Corner Booth Pod on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. And then if you go on Twitter and look up Quad Tailgate, you'll find Tailgate on the Quadcast. Originally, it was just tailgate in the quad, and then someone told me in a group chat that it should be tailgate in the quadcast, and then they DM'd me that it should be tailgate on the quadcast. I think they really wanted the name change, so it's tailgate on the quadcast.
All right.
And also, you can find me at BellyUp Kev.
True that.
Always want more followers. I will follow you back.
Always an entertaining follow.
Absolutely.
And
Even with all the uptakes.
There you go. Alex, as usual, where can we find you?
Oh, you guys can find me in the land of the tweets at @nuddle_CBJ. Right there. You can find me there. You can also find me at the Cannons and Tomahawks podcast at Cannonhawks Pod. I'm always on Twitter. I have no life, so I'm on Twitter all the time. So feel free to hit me up.
There you go. And you can find me at WhoIsRyanMCC on my personal Twitter account. I've also got my podcast, No Credentials Required, at BellyUpNCR. I just released an episode last week. Had some pretty big stuff going on in the Albany area. And you can catch my live streaming show, A Round for the Weekend, most Fridays at a new time, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time. So that's going to do it for us here at BellyUp Fantasy Live. We appreciate you joining us. And until next time, keep your sticks down. See you next time. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the debut episode of BellyUp Fantasy Live Hockey Edition. Yeah, what's new? It's grass is green, water's wet. Connor McDavid's leading the league within points.
In that first period, and they've been able to hang on to the lead. Here's Evander Kane trying to get away from Chikrin. He's gone!
Speaking of coaching really quick, I'm curious to see if the situation with Vegas right now, their coaches are all in COVID protocol.
Jason round out the power play quintet. And McDavid flying down the right-hand side. Cuts in, shoots and scores!
One other thing I noticed, especially with the time on ice, you look at Bo Horvat, he's got under 19 minutes, and then Mitch Marner has over 24 minutes.